Happy Tuesday, Taco Tuesday. Welcome back in to Let's Bet It. Lauren Jabara here with a guy that I don't know if you guys forgot who he is because he hasn't been here in like the last 10 days. Jared Smith, it's so good to have you back. How was
Oh, I
vacation?
missed you guys. It was very relaxing.
Yeah?
Went to Vegas for a few days, celebrated my birthday, watched the sunrise in the desert on my birthday. Very
How
spiritual.
early did you wake up for that?
5 a.m. Very early.
Oh
And that
my
was
gosh.
after I got off of a flight at like midnight. I basically got like 4 hours of sleep. I slept after, like during the day afterwards, but just a very therapeutic, spiritual awakening. Nice, fun trip. Shot some craps, won some money in craps in Vegas. Had a chance to see some people I liked. Then I came home and got focused on college hoops, and it was nice that Pickswise gave me a few days off the show to kind of recharge the batteries post football and then get ready for what we're about to do, which is ride like a 2-week gauntlet of madness. I mean,
This
the
next
next
2 weeks.
insane. So
It's gonna
very
be
refreshed, ready to roll.
Oh, I'm so excited. Okay, so you said you had a spiritual experience in Vegas.
I
I
did.
don't know if those two things go together necessarily, Jared.
They
Please.
do. Vegas for me is like I know when people go to Vegas, they just like party nonstop for like 24/7. Like I'm not like a huge partier. I don't go to like the pool parties or the clubs or anything like that. I'm kind of I'm sure this will come as a surprise, kind of an old man when I go to Vegas. I like to walk the strip. I like to wake up early. I like to drink iced coffee and roll craps at some of the casinos, bet some, look at where the lines are. I'll walk into a sports book and kind of see where the lines are moving and, if anything's rolling with certain games. But I didn't do a ton of sports betting out there. It's kind
Really?
of, I don't really, I think I only made like 4 or 5 sports bets total in like 3 days. I kind of go away from that because I do that for my job every day.
Yeah.
And I kind of turn into more of a craps. I love rolling craps. Like, honestly, I can stay at a craps table for like 8 hours straight.
Not a lot of people understand the game of craps, so it is impressive that you do. My dad is a big craps guy too, so you guys will get along. You guys will get along.
Definitely will.
Okay, lots to talk about. These next 2 weeks are gonna be absolutely insane, especially with college basketball, and then also the season's coming to a close with NHL, NBA. There's just so much going on these next couple of weeks. So today's show, NBA Morning Radar. Then we have Jim Root on, and he's gonna plant some picks for us for the college basketball conference tournaments. We got a lot of games to talk about kicking off today and tomorrow. And it's hard to even to keep track of them all because there's how many tabs, Jared, right now do you have open on your computer?
I have my usual like 10, 15, and then I have a tab on a separate window for like 10 conference tournament brackets.
Yeah.
So if I'm laggy this morning, I apologize. Matt asked me in the chat what my crap strategy is. I keep betting numbers, and if the numbers hit, I press. That's my strategy.
I love it.
And when the numbers keep hitting, I keep pressing. I had at one point this week like a $250 5, and I was like very stressed out about it. It ended up crapping out, but we got it up to like
Hey,
250.
everyone craps out eventually, but you know
Right.
what? Ride it while you can, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know what I mean?
Similar strategy to college basketball conference tournament week. You hit a number, you press. We hit Northern Kentucky last night, we're going to press. We hit UNC Wilmington last night, we're going to press. That's similar strategy.
Speaking of college basketball picks, you are 15-5.
Something
right?
like that. I lost
Last
track.
couple
I had
days.
a kind of an night last night. I think the conference tournaments, I am 10-6 so far. Hold on. It's really being slow. Sorry, 12-7. Conference tourney games, 12-7, up almost 5 units in just betting the conference tourney games. There's been a couple other random regular season games over the last week, but conference tourney games 12-7 plus 4.9 units.
Okay, a lot more conference tournament games to talk about today and tomorrow. But before we do, let's get into some NBA action, Jared. Okay, we saw Porzingis play officially his first game now with the Wizards. He carried them to a victory over the Pacers, which I don't know if that's even saying much because it is the Indiana Pacers, right? But do you think that this is a guy that can help the Wizards make the playoffs, or do you think it's a little too late? They're right out of playoff contention right now.
I'm probably the wrong guy to ask because I have a very negative connotation with Kristaps Porzingis based off his time in New York. I just don't think he's a guy that you build a team around. Can he, elevate the Wizards to a point where they maybe sneak into the play-in game? Sure. He certainly has a lot of talent, and he's going to be the guy. He wants to be the guy. He wasn't the guy in New York. He got run out of town. And then he wanted to be the guy in Dallas. Clearly, you can't be the guy in Dallas.
The guy in Dallas when there's Luka on the team.
No. So now he's the guy in Washington. Does he have a chance to maybe navigate them? Sure. When I'm looking at the board this morning, it's a really light NBA board. There's only 6 games.
6 games, yeah.
Yeah, the Nets are in Charlotte. That means Kyrie gets to play. That means you got to give a look to the Nets anytime Kyrie's on the floor. I'm assuming that line moves in their direction if it announces that Kyrie plays. Interesting game. The Suns at the Magic. The Suns have kind of been up and down over the last couple of weeks without Chris Paul. Crazy win over the Knicks last week too on that ridiculous buzzer beater. How do we feel about the Cavs and on the road at the Pacers? To me, that's
I feel good about that game. Yeah, I feel good about that game right now. The Cavs are right now sitting at 6th. They're just in that top 6 position. They're at 37-27 on the season. They've been playing really well. Yeah, I know they were a little bit higher in the standings earlier. The 76ers right now, unstoppable. The Heat right now, unstoppable. The Bucks, which actually I'm in Milwaukee right now. The Hawks play the Bucks tomorrow. They've been really, really good as well. And then the Chicago Bulls, like that top like 4, 5, 6, even I would say the top 4 because the Celtics, like, yeah, they're kind of vacillating back and forth, but that top 4 has basically been a lock this season. And they've been really, really fun to watch, playing some fun basketball. What I did not expect is the Nets to be sitting in that 9 spot. And then the Charlotte Hornets have kind of been fluctuating as well. Like yesterday, they were sitting at 10th. Right now, they're back at 8th in the East. So it's just going to be interesting to see how things play out, down the stretch of the next 18 games that are left in the season. And speaking of the Heat in the East, right, they're currently expecting to get Oladipo back in the lineup. Is this a guy too, Victor Oladipo, that can make the team even more dangerous? Or do you think there's a chance that a volume shooter like him can mess up the rhythm that they have right now? I don't see it hurting them.
I think Eric Spoelstra's too good of a coach for that to happen. I think Oladipo played last night. I think he played well.
Did he play last night?
Yeah, he played 15 minutes, scored 11 points on 4-7 shooting. The Heat won by 17. So when I look at the NBA, and listen, we've talked about the NBA a lot this year. Yeah. It's not something that I bet on a lot right now. So for me to, stand on my high horse and give all this analysis on these teams, I haven't watched them enough. Lauren's watched way more NBA than me this year. She's front and center for these games most nights. But I will say this, when I handicap the whole Eastern Conference, the Heat stand out to me in terms of the price and the talent. They're underpriced and they're over-talented in terms of where they are priced. So that's the team that I would target in the futures market. Night to night, you're going to get mixed bags with these games. Follow the movement, follow the props. Our guys, Mark Zinno and Alex Glaze, I know, Lauren, you'll dabble with the props sometimes too, but for the most part, those two have kind of been the breadwinners with giving out NBA picks on the show. Adam Rona's done a really nice job with it too. I would definitely tail his props on a nightly basis. We're going to get to the NBA in depth in a few weeks. We're just a little busy right now with the March Madness card, but
there's so much going on with March Madness. But right now, you said the Heat in the futures market right now, they are 10-1 to win the NBA Finals. So that could be a good team to be looking at into the future. Jim Root is not here yet, but line movement, Jared, if you're looking at the 6 NBA games tonight, have we seen any significant line movement heading into the slate tonight?
No, not really, to be perfectly honest with you. The Suns, actually a lot of movement towards dogs, frankly.
Really?
Yeah, good point in the chat about Jared Allen for the Cavs, and that's probably why that line's moved from -4 to -3. So a little movement towards the Pacers as a home dog tonight. I personally wouldn't bet the Pacers, just because I don't really think they're that good of a team. But certainly the movement is dictating that tonight. Same thing with the Pelicans-Grizzlies game. Yeah. Grizzlies open 6.5. I'm seeing 5 now at Caesars. 5.5, mostly painted across the board, though. So clearly some action on New Orleans tonight. I know CJ McCollum's been pretty hot in his early stint with the Pels. Bucks Thunder's the big spread of the night. Bucks favored by 13 on the road in OKC. But you just said you're in Milwaukee for a game tomorrow night, right? So that's the front end of a back-to-back for the Bucks. So I'd be very weary laying that because Milwaukee gets to get on a plane after Oklahoma City and go back home and play the Hawks tomorrow night. So probably no bets for me on the NBA board tonight, but the movement, not really anything significant to report, to be honest with you.
What is significant conference tournaments happening right now, right here. Let's bring in Jim Root, college basketball analyst of the 3manweave.com in the Field of 68 podcast. Jim, things are heating up. Just heading into what's going to be like a crazy next 2 weeks. What is your approach to just what teams you're betting, how you kind of narrow down the scope? I know that's more of a broad question, but how do you do it?
Particularly in conference tournaments, I really like looking at some of the preseason expectations and where teams landed then, because I like the idea that they'll revert back to some of those expectations. We've seen it in a couple of leagues already. Georgia State was the preseason favorite. Chattanooga was the preseason favorite, and they won the regular season too. But there's just kind of like a boost given to teams that feel like they're starting fresh. If they've disappointed or underachieved for some reason, it feels like this is a new season for them and a chance to redeem themselves. So I like peeking at those to find some secret value, either in futures or in game-to-game markets.
It's going to be really interesting to see how things kind of like transpire over these next couple of weeks. So before we get into, your conference tournament picks and then some of the picks that we have going on for tonight, let's try this new segment we like to call Fast Break. Okay. It's similar to Red Hot Chili Proppers. So Jim, for NFL, we did this thing called Red Hot Chili Proppers instead of Red Hot Chili Peppers. And we talked about prop bets.
I was with you. Don't worry. Don't worry.
If you explain the joke, it loses all meaning.
I tend to do that. My family says I beat my jokes with beat a joke like a dead horse, and it's so bad that it ends up just not being funny. So you know what? I have to just continue that for the show. I'm just myself.
3 times in a span of 2 sentences. It's just totally loses.
I love how I felt like I needed to explain that, Jim. Too. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry I doubted your musical taste. Okay.
Hey, the amount of weird college basketball knowledge I have, it's understandable. You'd think maybe I haven't heard of Red Hot Chili Peppers. There's only so much brain room for me.
Okay, so here's how it's gonna work. We're gonna go through a lot of the conferences, not all of them, because we just don't have time for that. You guys have about 15 to 20 seconds to give the analysis for what team you think will win that conference tournament. And just like a quick sub note, these are not official plays, or they could be, and you can tell me if they are. So let's get it started. Jared, I'm going to start with you. SEC, who do you got?
We're on the same page here with Kentucky. So to me, first of all, the draw I think is really favorable. They stay away from Auburn until the final. And I think that's clearly the best team. But I think Kentucky, metrics-wise, they meet all of the metrics. But this SEC tournament's going to be bonkers. And I'm not betting it, but it is going to. I'm probably going to stay away from every game betting the SEC tournament because I do think it's going to be bananas. But Kentucky, to me, is the best team top to bottom.
I don't know if I have that kind of self-control, stay away from every single game. But no, I'm with you. I think Kentucky does win. I like the draw as well because not only do they avoid Auburn, but they avoid red-hot Arkansas.
Yeah.
Let those two teams beat each other up in the semifinals. I'm great with that. I think Kentucky's a pretty solid matchup for Tennessee in the semis. There's just a little worry, I guess, with Alabama because they're so erratic, and maybe that's a team that reverts a little bit to preseason expectations. But I'm with you on Big Blue. Yep.
Alabama's the defending champs, so
with you on Big Blue though. Too talented, too deep for this tournament.
Okay, let's shift to Big 12. Jim, who do you got for the Big 12 right now?
I'm going with Texas Tech. I'm thinking about betting it, but I haven't pulled the trigger yet. I just think Baylor's dealing with injuries, and it almost would behoove them to not win this tournament. I don't think they should want to play 3 games in 3 days with their lack of depth right now. And then Kansas, I don't fully trust. The play down the stretch was not great. Even some of their wins were not sharp. Texas Tech has the depth, the physicality. I think they can win this tournament. I think they'll play like they want to win it too, Jared. So I'm leaning towards the Red Raiders to win this.
Yeah, and I think it's the winner of that game, frankly. The Baylor-Texas Tech game that wins this tournament. It could definitely beat Texas Tech. I was close to firing a Texas Tech Final Four future. Then they kind of went into a little bit of a dip, lost a couple of tough games, lost to TCU, lost to Oklahoma State down the stretch. Number dropped a little bit. I haven't fired off it yet. I probably will bet Texas Tech in the tournament at some point. The Baylor injuries are concerning. I just don't trust anyone in the top half of the bracket. And that's why it's either Baylor or Texas Tech. I would lean Baylor, but if the injuries, if Jim's right and they want to heal up, and that's another thing to look at with these big high major conference tournaments, the top teams don't really have that motivation to win. Of course, they want to win. Everybody wants to win. Yeah. But deep-seated grit, gut to motivation to win is not quite there like it is with the mid majors or lower seeded high major teams. So that's where Baylor would probably trip themselves up. But hey, listen, they lost to Texas Tech twice this year, so it's really hard to say that they're going to beat them this time around. But I would say the winner of that Baylor Texas Tech game in the bottom of the bracket probably wins the Big 12 tournament.
Jim, how tough is it to beat a team 3 times in the same season?
It's not tough. It's easy. It's easy.
We talked about this cliche the other day. It's kind of easy.
Yeah, it's actually the data was that the team that won the first 2 matchups is 52% against the spread in the third meeting. So It's not like, there's some crazy shift back the other way. I wouldn't worry too much about that. If you see a team that's won twice, sometimes it's because the matchup is really beneficial. So I wouldn't be spooked off by that in conference tournament play.
Mm-hmm. What about the Big East, Jared? Who do you got? Because you guys are thinking a little differently here in the Big East.
I mean, this to me, this is the easiest bet I've ever made in my life. How can I not take Providence as the top seed that's getting 6-1 on the line? I mean, they're going to face either Butler or Xavier in the quarters, and Xavier is a shell. Butler's been feisty, but Xavier's gone into a shell the last couple weeks. Then they're going to face either Creighton or Marquette in the semis. Creighton's without their best player. Marquette just doesn't play well at home, although Marquette did smoke Providence by 30 earlier this season, way earlier in the year. I think we've got Providence in the final at 6-1 against Nova. There'll be a dog probably by 7 or 8, or UConn, they'll probably be a dog by 5 or 6. And then we get them to do whatever we want, if we want to hedge out of that. So Providence is just a tough-nosed team, seniors, upperclassmen. They got a great head coach. I think the number's wrong, and the Providence, I know we've had a lot of discussion about them this year. They've been disrespected a lot. The luck factor matters, but at 6-1, they're going to be in the final, I'm pretty sure. And then, we'll deal with it from there.
Yeah. So I'm picking Villanova to win, but I'm betting Providence. I think Jared's points about the path are spot on. Everybody in the top half of that bracket is either injured or playing poorly. So Providence is they haven't played. They got the final weekend of the season off, which helped them get healthy. I still think Villanova is the best team and beat Providence twice, but the betting value is very clearly on the Friars.
What about the Big Ten? Because you guys are on the same page here on the Big Ten, Jim.
Yeah, we're both going Illinois. The odds for them are pretty solid too. You can get them plus 390, almost 4-1 in a couple places. They're the 1 seed. They did get swept by Purdue, so you got to be careful with it's not an ideal matchup for them. But one of them was in overtime. They were close in the second half at Purdue before they got a little run put on them. I like the makeup of the team. They've got a big-time playmaker late in games in Trent Frazier. They've got a dominant big man and a ton of shooting around them. They also made a run to the final last year. So I like Illinois. I just don't really trust the Boilermakers.
I love the path for Illinois, Lauren. So Rutgers and Iowa in the top half of the bracket. Iowa has to play a quarterfinal game or a first round. I don't know whatever the hell they're calling it. And then the Illinois top seed 1 will get a pretty easy game in the quarters. And then, it'll either be Rutgers or Iowa in that's the quarterfinal round, Rutgers or Iowa probably. I like the matchup there. Illinois lost to Rutgers on the road. They're not playing on the road. They're not playing at the RAC or the Jersey Mike Center. And then in the semis or in the final, it's either going to be Purdue or Wisconsin. And I don't trust Purdue. And Wisconsin, Johnny Davis's ankle's a little banged up. It'll be his 3rd game in 3 nights. So I feel like Illinois has the path. Does that mean they're going to win it? Again, who knows? These high major tournaments get weird, especially at the top. But I think Illinois has the path at the top half of that bracket to do damage.
We're shifting to the A10, and if honestly someone gave me $10,000 to put on who Jared would bet to win this conference, I would literally choose this team and just go all in on it because Jared absolutely loves the Bonnies. Please tell me more.
I mean, we talked about this. Jim and I had an in-depth discussion about this tournament last night. So they're going to face they're the 4 seed. They're going to face St. Louis probably in the quarters. They're 2-0 against St. Louis this year. I like that matchup. Then they go into the semis, and they're going to probably face the 1 seed Davidson. They lost at home by 5, but they were slight favorites in that game, and that means that they're probably going to be a pick'em, or maybe they're a 1-point underdog, on a neutral against Davidson. And then in the final, they were favored against VCU at home. They were favored against Dayton at home. So when I look at the Bonnies' path, they're going to be favored in the first game. They're probably going to be a pick'em or a 1-point underdog in the semis. And then they're probably, if they win, probably favored in the final, or maybe it's a pick'em. And it's $850 at win. If you do a 3-team money line parlay, -110, -110, -110, which the average odds of Bonnie's 3 games will probably be right around there, it's 6-1. Mm-hmm. So I don't understand how this number is plus 850. Obviously, the health of their big man, Osunyi, is huge. But this is a numbers bet. I mean, the number at plus 850 at win is wrong. Shop these numbers around. They're very different no matter where you do your shopping. But to me, that's just a straight numbers bet. They play 3 games. They're probably going to be favored in 1 or 2 of those 3 games. And I think plus 850 is just a bad number for a team with 5 seniors in their starting lineup that won the tournament last year. It seems like a bet I have to make.
Yeah, this is a preseason expectations thing again. St. Bonnie's was like clearly number 1 in this league entering the season, maybe a top 25 fringe team for some, and they just didn't play that well. And the computer rankings and the analytics of them are why the number is what it is, what Jared's talking about, the 850, this plus 700 a lot of places too. And it's wrong. Like, it just is. Like, the team is better than what they have shown, and I think they will show it. I'm picking VCU to win out of the bottom half, which is kind of a minefield, but the value, no question, is on St. Bonaventure. And like Jared, I have already bet that one. I'm with him on the Bonnies. So I think that's a good wager.
We're all in on the Bonnies, baby. Let's go.
My Bonnie goes over the ocean. What's that song? What's the song?
What song?
You lost me there.
I don't know. It's like a nursery rhyme. Jack or
It's not a Chili Pepper song?
You know Red Hot Chili Pepper. You don't know the nursery rhyme. That's so funny, Jared. It's okay. You can think about it, and we'll get back to that. Okay, right after we talk about the ACC.
Thank you for that.
We're on Duke right now to win the ACC.
Yeah, this one's another easy one. So Duke's coming off of I would say, I don't want to call it an embarrassing loss because UNC is a quality team, but they were 12-point favorites in that game at home. It was Coach K's last game. That is a wake-up call for a Duke team that is young but unbelievably talented. And now you're telling me that they have to win 3 games to win this tournament. They're going to be double-digit favorites in all 3 games. In the final, they're also going to be double-digit favorites probably against Notre Dame or North Carolina. I just don't understand why I wouldn't want to take a -125 and basically free roll it into the final. And then we'll make a decision once we get to the final if we want to bet, UNC or Notre Dame money line in the bottom half of that bracket. Could it be Virginia Tech? Sure. They'll also be double-digit dogs in that game. But I think the loss for Duke came at a good time. I don't like laying juice on a futures bet, but I think the numbers, again, wrong because I think we're going to get Duke in the final as a double-digit favorite.
Yeah, they're like pretty easily in the semifinals. I'm with you on Duke. I think this is the event to bet them because that final regular season game had the Coach K implications and the pressure for a really, really young team that maybe got to them. And I think that could happen again in the NCAA tournament where it's like, this could be Coach K's last game. Every time they suit up, every time they go out, the young team is going to hear that. They're going to feel that. But this tournament is not like that. It is not a do or die for Coach K. He's not going home after this. I think this is the event where, like Jared mentioned, they bounce back from the loss. Yeah. They're better than the rest of these teams. They've had some close calls with some of them and a couple losses, but I think they're dialed in here, and Duke's dialed in is about as good as it gets in this league.
Wow, Red Hot Chili Propers, guys. Fast break. We love it. It's absolutely amazing. Okay, so those were some of the things you were thinking about, but actual conference tournament bets. I know Jared locked in quite a few yesterday and this morning. A lot of the big conference tournaments starting today, tomorrow on the 10th. Today's 8th, right? 8th, 9th, and 10th. Some conference tournaments already started. Jim, when you look at just the conference tournament schedule in general, who do you have on the futures market to win different conference tournaments? I'll just let you run through some of the ones you're looking at.
Yeah, absolutely. So we mentioned the Providence and St. Bonaventure ones. I think Jared and I are definitely on the same page there. Mm-hmm. And then I just picked off a couple of prices that I thought were really good and maybe slightly off market. Toledo and the MAC plus 170. They're minus 130 in some places, minus 110. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So happy to take plus 170 there. Now they've got some issues if they face Kent State in the final. They have yet to beat them and kind of got clowned by them in the final regular season meeting. But I think they're the best team. They probably have the best player, or arguably one of the best players in Ryan Rollins at point guard. So I will roll with the Rockets at that juicy price. And then I also laid some money in the Metro Atlantic with Iona -110, and then the MEAC Norfolk State found a -180. I think Jared actually found an even better price on Norfolk State. So
I'll update the prices after you're done because I got some good prices on some of these teams this morning.
Yeah, hat tip to them. I feel like some of I'm out in Vegas, so I have to go with the Vegas books. Some of the other non-Vegas books have even better prices. You mentioned the win price on Bonaventure. That's really just one of them. But yeah, so Norfolk and Iona, I just think the class of their leagues, they have an awesome coach and the best talent, and they ran through the regular season. So I think both of them are pretty similar bets for me. I like both of those. I believe, that the only one other one I haven't mentioned is UTEP, 60-1 in Conference USA.
It.
Super long shot, but they just got a little healthier to end the year. They just beat the 1 seed North Texas to end the season. And their coach, let's not forget, was at Abilene Christian last year, won their conference tournament, beat Texas in the first round. He's had some experience in March. So I think that is a worthy long shot in CUSA.
60-1. Love to see it.
They're going to face Middle in the second game.
Your boys.
Might be Josh Jefferson. We don't know what his status is. The best player in Middle Tennessee missed the last 2 games of the season. That's going to be a very fascinating matchup. So I piggyback Jim on UTEP, 50-1 this morning at the Superbook at Westgate. That number is still available. I piggybacked on Toledo. It's still plus 165 at FanDuel this morning when I bet it. That's a good number. It's odds on pretty much at every other book that I looked at except for FanDuel. The win number on Norfolk State is minus 160. Very good number. Incredibly good number. They're going to face 3 games. They're going to probably be double-digit favorites in all 3 games. They're probably going to be like 20-point favorites against Delaware State.
Yeah, it's in the tournament's in Norfolk
exactly.
too. It's not their home arena, but they don't have to travel.
It's basically like a home arena.
Right. They get a good crowd. Yep.
So units across the board on all those. I did a half unit on UTEP at 50-1 because it's such a long shot. My 3 bets that I locked in also this morning, we mentioned Providence. I got them at 6-1, a unit there. Yeah. Duke at minus 125, a unit there, and Bonnie's plus 850. So 2 things on the conference tournaments before we move on to the individual games. 2 more things just to mention macro. 1, shop these numbers. If you live in New Jersey like me, you have like 20 books to look at. I have like 7 that I shop at regularly, the big boys basically, and then a couple of, littler guys. The prices between the favorites and the underdogs at these books, the differences is insane. You get book at, one of the DraftKings books is like 4-1 on Providence, and then at Superbook it's 6-1. That is a massive difference in price, and it matters when you get to the final. You get that much more on your hedge, and it makes it that much more of a valuable hedge if we get Providence in the final. So shop around these books, very important. 2, I'm probably going to do this with Providence, and I'm probably going to do this with Duke. I'm going to do the rollover experiment because we hear all the time it's better odds if you just bet the money line and then roll it over and then bet the money line and roll over. We don't have a whole lot of data to support that because the odds fluctuate all the time and we just don't know. The conference tournament gives us a chance to do that. And I'm going to do that with a couple of teams. I'll see what the odds are. I'll see what the end number is, and we'll have a fun compare and contrast game after the conference tournaments are over about it, because I'm curious with some of these teams if it really is better to bet the rollover than bet the conference tournament future. We'll find out. Providence, I think, is a good case study because they're the top seed and they're not the favorite. So we'll see how that one goes.
Jim, what do you think about rolling it over like that?
Yeah, I think there's an argument for it. I mean, especially if when you're looking at the draw and you think, oh, there's a chance that it will be less favorable than you expect, then you really want to roll it over because those odds are probably better than what you're getting offered pre-flop there. I haven't done a ton of experimenting with it, so I'm very curious to see what Jared gets on those results.
We'll do Duke.
We'll reconvene next week and see how it goes. We'll reconvene next week, see how it goes.
I kind of want to do VCU too, Jim, because I think VCU's number isn't long enough for me to bet the future at 450, 4-1-ish. But I think they're probably going to be dogs in 2 out of the 3 games, right? Against Dayton and then in the final.
Right. And so that's where
another one that is intriguing to me.
If you think there's a chance Dayton gets upset, you bet the VCU price now. But if you think that Dayton's going to be there, then you probably want to roll it over.
Dayton's an interesting team. Dayton's the favorite, but they're not the number 1 seed in the A10, which makes the A10 another interesting betting tournament, I think.
Yes, for sure.
Also, sorry guys about this like laser light show that's going on behind me. There's a flag. I was just getting distracted by it. There's like a flag outside and it keeps waving. I'm like, why are the lights like I'm like in a club over here or something. Getting ready.
It's good morning vibes. I'm liking it.
It's great. Okay, a lot of games tonight. A lot of conference tournaments starting, some of them already in progress right now. Jim, when you go through your slate for tonight, who do you got? Why do you got them? Please win us some money.
So I didn't jump on many of the conference tournament championships. I think Jared has a couple more bets in those. The one I do like is North Dakota State +6 taking on South Dakota State. These games are always close between these two. I bet North Dakota State both games this season. They just missed the first one covering, and they easily covered the second game. Both these teams had a really easy semifinal, won by 20 plus. I think that kind of helps coming in. There's no advantage in terms of like one got to rest a bunch of players. So I like the Bison. Big rivalry there. Both teams can really, really score. I'll take the 6 with North Dakota State. And then I took a couple in the Conference USA, Frisco Disco, as I call it. The tournament. They play at a football stadium in Frisco, Texas. And they've got like a split court. It's like an AAU tournament where they play 2 games at the same time. The shooting background is really difficult. Year after year, unders have some serious value here. So taking the UTSA Southern Miss under. I thought about also going with the Marshall FIU under. It's a high number and it's been bet down a little bit. But so I'm going with Marshall -3.5. That's a preseason expectations bet. That team should not be playing on opening day of the CUSA tournament. They're way too talented. So I'll lay the 3.5 there, and then I'm taking the under with UTSA Southern Miss. 139, I think, is the number available across the board. So I'm hopping in on CUSA, the Frisco Disco, to get it started.
I like it. I feel like I'm at the Frisco Disco right now with everything going on.
There you go.
Just doing a show with you, Lauren. I'm at the Frisco Disco every morning.
Disco. I love it. Jared, you're on quite a few games tonight as well.
Yeah, so there's a lot tonight. There's 5 auto bits given out. The Colonial, the Horizon, the Summit, West Coast, and the NEC. I'm probably betting like 3 or 4 out of 5 of them. I think
more the merrier, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Ace Sun's another one that's interesting tonight. That's another auto bid that's going to get given out. I do like the Atlantic Sun a lot. I like Jacksonville a lot. I love this Dolphins team. They're at Bellarmine. It's a true road game. A couple of these conferences are playing true road games in the conference finals, and that's noteworthy. The Dolphins have been a team that I've been hot and heavy on all season. They're 19-7-1 against the number, 3rd best cover rate in the country. They're a pretty experienced team. They lost at Bellarmine earlier this year in overtime. But the Knights are coming off this crazy upset over the best team in the league, Liberty. So we'll see if they can carry that momentum over. And Liberty didn't play well in that game. 6 of 24 from 3. They turned it over 13 times. So I'm going to keep, again, the crap strategy. You bet these teams all year. You'll see a familiar theme with a lot of the games that I'm on tonight. It's a lot of familiar names. You keep pressing it because they get hot and you keep betting it and the numbers don't fully catch up. I think that's where JU's been all year. And we're going to take 3 with the Dolphins. Another one that I've got to keep pressing and got to keep rolling with is this UNC Wilmington team. Last night probably didn't deserve to win, but that's been their MO all season long. So they are 2-0 against Delaware during the regular season. Both games were close. The game at home, relatively, distance. They won by 7, but they only won by 2 on the road. I'm a little worried about Delaware because I think they've got a little bit of an it factor to them with Jameer Nelson Jr., son of that great St. Joe's and the Orlando Magic point guard Jameer Nelson. And they have a freshman, Jair Davis, coming on really strong as well, who had a huge game against Wilmington in the last game that they played. But again, Wilmington's 18-10 against the number this year. They've only lost 3 times since December 15th. And I'm catching 2.5 in a conference final. I got to keep rolling with it. I love this Wilmington team. They're experienced. Their top 3 players are all upperclassmen. Jalen Sims at 26 and 11 last night. Absolute stud. Another team that I like but I don't love that I'm going to bet tonight is Wagner. Kind of a weird spot with them. We've got a big future on Bryant to win the Northeast Conference. I've got like 3.5, 4 units on it. And Wagner is getting 4.5 on the road, true road game, Northeast final. Bryant's the better team. They're healthier. These two teams split during the regular season. The game that Wagner won was when they had their best player, Elijah Ford. He's now out. I'm worried that Bryant's going to play a little tight like they did in the last game that they barely pulled out at the horn. But I think Bryant wins the game. We feel good about our future, but I'm going to take a little off the top tonight with Wagner plus 4.5 for 1 unit. And then I guess I'll save my last pick for play of the day because this team is worthy of a little bit of a tease.
We love to see it. Jim, who would be, I know we're not keeping on to the end of the show, but who would be your best bet, your best play of the day?
Best play of the day would probably be that under in Conference USA, the UTSA Southern Miss one. Both teams are missing key players too. UTSA's point guard transferred at the end of February, and Southern Miss has got plenty of injury issues across their roster. So lack of offensive firepower, plus that weird shooting background and the intensity of a conference tournament when games tend to slow down. I'll ride with that under there.
Jim Root planting the seed of knowledge. I love my botanical puns there. Jim, we're going to be chatting with you a lot in the upcoming weeks, obviously, with the craziness going on. Thank you so much for taking a lot of time to chat with us today, and best of luck with your bets tonight. We'll see you again later this week or next week sometime.
Of course. Yep. I'll be back Thursday. We got a lot to discuss.
Back Thursday, lots to talk about, baby.
Yep.
Let's go.
Can't go 48 hours.
We need to come up with like a botanical segment, like Jim Root plants the seed of knowledge, but we need to make.
Oh, wait, is that because his last name is Root and plants have roots?
You know,
there's the over explanation.
A joke, Jared, it doesn't make it as funny. All right.
I just wanted to clarify that for anyone. That...
I'm just kidding.
What about Root Hot Chili Poppers? How's that?
That's actually great.
We're going with it, baby. We're planting it. Let's do it.
I'm feeling rich.
And on that note,
on that note, put him out. He's good.
Thank you.
And bye, Jim. You love to see it. Wait, that's actually hilarious. Root Hot Chili Poppers. Let's make it happen, baby. Okay, before we get to our best bets of the day, let's quickly go through the NHL slate. There's 11 games on this card tonight, which is so crazy because we got NBA, we got a lot of college basketball. Now we got 11 NHL games. Are you on any NHL matchups tonight?
I'm not.
Okay, perfect. Sounds good. I'll go through mine then.
So here, I'll say this. Igor is a dog. Our buddy Igor on the road against the Wild, the Rangers, obviously, Igor Shesterkin. Anytime Igor is a dog, must bet. Actually, my buddy said, first of all, the Vezina at minus 210 is like a lock. I hate saying locks, but how does he not win the Vezina? And my trusted
is the juice worth the squeeze with that at minus 210?
Well, that's the thing. You got to wait 3 months because they're not gonna wait. You know, they're not gonna announce it till June.
Yeah, I know.
You got to lock your money up for 3 months. So it's not. But here's something that might be. Are we crazy to not think that he has a chance to win the Hart Trophy at 5-1 at the MVP? So there's precedent for it. Carey Price did win the Hart like 5 years ago when the Canadians had that crazy season.
It's rare.
It is rare, but there is precedent for it. There is precedent for it. What are your thoughts there, hockey girl?
Yeah, I just think that there's other guys in the league right now that would be a better bet to win the Hart. So if I would bet him, it's hard for me to bet someone at minus 210, though. You said he's a minus 210 right now.
I wouldn't bet it just because I don't want to lock my money up for 3 months.
Yeah.
He's going to win the bet.
I would lock my money up if it was more of a plus money bet. If it was more of a plus money bet, I would lock my money up because, I mean, that's what you're doing when you're betting futures. You're locking your money up anyways, right? Like at the beginning of the NFL season, you locked your money up for what, like 20 weeks?
I locked my money up in March for the Cardinals, 9 months.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you locked your money up for a year. So that's not as big of an issue for me as it is like the value of it at minus 210. Obviously, he is going to win it and you will win money, but it's just like you're not winning that much for the amount that you're going to
If you have deep pockets and you've got some money, first of all, none of us have money to spare. I mean, in this economy, come on, right? Like, you know, none of us have money.
Gas prices the way they are.
Gas prices, you get, but at minus 210, that's telling you that he's going to win the award 66.66, 67% of the time. And I see that the only scenario he doesn't win the Vezina is if he gets hurt like tomorrow.
Don't even
That's
say
like
that.
what,
Knock on wood.
9 out of 10 scenarios. So you're getting
Knock on
value
wood.
there, no doubt.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's worth locking your money up for 3 months.
Yeah. In
That's
terms of the heart, I just think that there's other guys that I would be looking at for.
yeah, McDavid, those those guys.
That's
But
still,
like I
good
said,
value, good
there
plus money.
there is precedent for a goalie to win it
There
recently.
is.
So it's not the worst bet.
It's a good outside pick.
They're going to keep
definitely
rolling.
an outside pick, I would say.
I know Jack loves the Rangers.
There's quite a few good games on the slate tonight. One of them I'm on is the Panthers taking on the Penguins. It's two of the best teams right now in the East, right? The Panthers wanting to add another win to the road. They've been dominant offensively. They've been scoring like 4.09 goals per game. Defensively, they stepped up. I think they're allowing around like 2.9 goals per game. And then we were just talking like Sergei Bobrovsky, stellar, 9.16 or 916 save percentage right now, 2.54 goals against average. But I really like the Pens in this spot. The Pens 3-way money line. Right now it's a pick 'em game, straight up. But if you get it at the 3-way money line, you get a little bit better value. The Pens 3-way money line right now is sitting at plus 145. So my allergies are horrible right now. I'm a little phlegmy. You hate to see it. The Pens right now are scoring 3.21 goals per game, but their defense has been really, really good. They're allowing 2.58 goals per game, and they've only allowed 6 total goals in their last 4 games. Tristan Jarry, he's stepped up big this season, 921 save percentage, 2.30 goals against average. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like, yeah, I know the Ice Cats have been treating me well. They lost me my last bet that I bet on them, and they're only set 13-7-5 on the road. You want to know who's really good at home? The Penguins are really good at home. They're 22-4-2 at home this season. Jake Gensel, Sidney Crosby are a lot to handle on the offensive side, and Tristan Jarry is tough to solve. I like the Penguins to win at home in regulation. I'm betting the 3-way money line to get a little better value, plus 145. So I locked that in there. The other game that I'm on is the Caps taking on the Flames, but that is also my best bet of the day. So I'm going to save it for 1 second, and let's head to the Pickswise.com website, talk about our 3-star play of the day, and then we'll get into our best bets to end the show. Who we got?
Good hockey card tonight, actually.
11 games.
I haven't placed any official wagers yet. I'll probably tail your pod because I love you, and that's just what I do on pod days, right? I think there's another pick that I'll mention on the Pickswise site too. Actually, I haven't seen this capper pop up yet. So, but he's obviously good if he's giving us hockey picks. Ducks Blackhawks over 6. Check it out. Pickswise play of the day. 3-star play of the day, I should say. Christopher Morais. Apologize if I mispronounce his last name. Morais. That's your Pickswise 3-star capper today. Also, our guy Joe Champion has a pick for the players. Big golf tournament this week, which hopefully we'll get to a little bit tomorrow.
Of course we will. Wednesday golf day.
I have a really corny pun for this tournament. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah, I do. All we've been doing today is corny puns.
Don't hate the players, hate the game.
I hate that actually so much. I hate that so much. I said I wanted.
Aren't you guys glad I'm back?
I set myself up for that.
Aren't you so glad I'm back?
Our producers are both saying boo in our chat right now.
Come on, that's funny.
That I actually like it, and I'm probably going to use it and claim it as my own.
You're going to talk about golf with like your dad or somebody this week, some like really high up sports person at one of your Hawks games, and you're going to use that pun, and they're going to laugh, and I'm not going to get the credit for the joke. And that's
don't hate the players, hate the game. We'll use it tomorrow when we probably have Teddy Greenstein on. We usually have him on Wednesdays. Sorry, I don't want to get ahead of myself, producers Jack and Justin. But Teddy is on tomorrow, so you can use that again, Jared. I'll officially let you use
Teddy
that again
will
tomorrow. Appreciate
that joke. He is a cornball like me.
Yeah, a corn star, if you will.
Corn star.
I'm done. Okay, we're moving on to our best bets of the day. Who you got because you saved that NKU pick that you were going to talk about earlier. Oh God, we got a little hand clapping going on.
This is the night, Lauren Jabara.
Let's hear it.
This is the night. So I'm not a parent, thankfully at this point in my life, but I would imagine that this is how a parent would feel when they watch their kid grow up and then they send them off to college and then they become successful.
Mhm.
We have been on this Northern Kentucky team almost the entire season, from like January-ish on, when I really started to handicap college basketball a little more intensely. This Northern Kentucky team is basically my baby. There's been doubters, there's been haters, but tonight's the night. Tonight is the night that they get to punch their ticket to the NCAA tournament. They're in the Horizon League final against Wright State. Last night, nobody wanted to bet them except me. And what did they do to IPFW? They turned the Mastodons into just a bunch of, I don't know what the opposite of a Mastodon is, but that's what they did. So Northern Kentucky is 2-0 against Wright State this year. They play this just hectic, just helter-skelter zone defense that's going to give Wright State and their really good offense a lot of problems. Take nothing away from Wright State. Preseason favorite, certainly supposed to win this conference. They've got a ton of talent on offense, but Northern Kentucky fits the profile of what I like mid-majors to be in March. If you're not an elite scoring team and you don't have an elite backcourt, which Northern Kentucky does not, you have to do the hustle things well. Offensive rebounds, forced turnovers, deflections. That is what the Norse are elite in. They do have one scoring guard, Marquez Warwick, who is a star, averaging over 25 points over his last 4 games. But for the most part, this is a grinded out Northern Kentucky team, and I think they are going to grind out Wright State tonight. I love this Norse team. Credit their head coach, Darren Horn. He took Western Kentucky to the Sweet 16 like 10, 15 years ago. He understands how to coach a mid-major squad. And again, Northern Kentucky, all the doubters, they were 6-9 after a really bad loss to Robert Morris back in January. They're 14-2 down the stretch since.
They love to see that. That's for sure.
We pressing with Northern Kentucky. We're laying 1 against Wright State tonight, and hopefully the Norse are going to punch their ticket to the tournament tonight.
I like it. I like it a lot. I actually think I'm going to tell you on this one. I just want to have the energy that you have about this NKU team right now. I'm tailing it, Jared. Let's go. Let's go, boys. Okay, the other game I'm on is the Caps taking on the Flames. I like the Flames 3-way money line in this position at plus 120. Now, the Flames have been on fire. Jared, I know that you're a big Calgary guy right now. They've won 8 of their last 10 games, 9 of their last 10 home games, and they've scored 14 goals in their last 3 games. They are clicking offensively right now. They are 10th in the league on power play opportunities. And yeah, the Caps are a good defensive team, but they've struggled a little bit recently. They've given up 9 goals in their last 3 road games. I think they're going to have a hard time slowing down Johnny Hockey and the Flames. And the Caps have also struggled offensively on the road, only 7 goals in their last 3 road games. So when you're giving up 9 and only scoring 7, you ain't going to win very many games. Calgary, one of the best defensive teams in the league right now, 2.46 goals per game on average that they're allowing. I just think the Caps are going to have a hard time scoring in this one. The Flames are going to bring the heat. Do we have enough puns yet today in today's show, Jared? I don't think so. The Flames are on fire. They're going to bring the heat, and they're going to take advantage of this one on home ice. 3-way money line, plus 120. Lock it in, baby.
I'm definitely telling you. Hopefully some of you tailed our Flames futures bet like 2 weeks ago at 20-1 because the best price that I can see now is 13. We've discussed the Western Conference before. I know you're hot and heavy with your Avs. I get it. I know
there's just no value in betting them right now, but I think that they're going to win the whole thing.
And I cannot wait for the Flames Avs Western Conference semifinal.
It's going to be a fun 7-game series between us, Jared. It's going to be a fun 7-game series between us. That's all I got to say.
I'm going to be the hot one. You're going to be the cold one. You're on the Avalanche. I'm on the Flames.
And on that final pun of today's show, that's it for us. Please, Lord, save us from ourselves. Find us on the Pickswise YouTube channel. Go to pickswise.com. Follow us on Twitter. And Jared, it's so good to have you back on the show. Jared Smith, I'm Lauren Jabara. Best of luck tonight, you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Don't hate the players. Hate the game. Let's get it. Let's bet it.